Yale Divinity School recently celebrated the grand opening of the Living Village, its state-of-the-art, ecologically regenerative graduate student residential complex. This village is designed to meet the Living Building Challenge, the world's most rigorous standard in ecological building. In addition to being made from entirely sustainable materials, it's designed to create more energy than it consumes via solar panels and recycling wastewater through an innovative system of filtration and irrigation. Hence, a living village, a building that is intended to be not just a static energy extractive structure, but an organism integrated with its immediate environment, a living creature. Thus, this village is Yale Divinity's eco-theological statement to the world. The Greek word ekos means home, and so building a living home is a kind of radical application of the incarnational logic of the Christian gospel, to live in mutual enfleshed harmony with the created order that instantiates the community of the living God. At least that's the idea.
Being here has felt amazing because it immediately created a physical community, which is also a spiritual community.
It feels like home. It feels like a place that I can grow and that I can continue to discern what God has for me in this season of my life. I feel that as though I am where I need to be for a time such as this.
This is also where I am at a time such as this. Here's my room. I too chose to attend Yale Divinity in large part because of this living village as a venue in which to actualize my eco-theological ideals. At a time when climate collapse is ever more imminent, when socio-political tensions are at an all-time high, and when technological acceleration is accelerating. A time of crisis in which I've yearned for a coherent form of life, a place to be, and a way to be, for a kind of eco-monasticism. Have I found that holism here? That part is in process. While the inaugural event has come and gone, the social and institutional dynamics leading up to the opening of the village have been complex, and these complex dynamics point to larger questions about value, action, and praxis, and the relationship between radical living and institutional support. That's to say, what's the relation between the eco-theology and the economics?
New Haven has a growing houseless population, and so the tension is that I'm here, I'm living in this amazing building that has very little waste, and then also knowing that so much money was put into this building and that there are still people that are unhoused. More people need to have access to these type of opportunities.
There is an automatic disconnect when we think about the community that we're surrounded by and the life that we're living here. It's very disconnected, because how do you exist in a space that is supposed to promote life, health, living, and you have this awareness of an ongoing disconnect between you and people who are striving to just live every day.
Yeah. This is a tension I'm living as well, since most of my own background is in more DIY spaces of action and intention. And now I find myself embedded in a well-resourced institutional setting, one that doesn't compel me to do anything but study and bask in the bottomless support of it all, the automated eco-technology and the almost constant free food. You could feel these tensions at the opening ceremony itself. There were celebratory affirmations and eco-spiritual liturgies, but there were also witnesses to Yale's financial ties to military contractors with connections to the war in Gaza. It was interesting to see how my fellow students, even in the midst of this protest, were being offered the vegan hors d'oeuvres and being thanked by attendees and investors for their act of witnessing. Thanks for protesting. Have a tiny vegan taco. It calls to mind Althusser's concept of the ideological state apparatus. Institutions like schools and churches can be venues for social transformation, but they can also function to reproduce the existing order by absorbing into themselves precisely the expressions of resistance that would oppose the system. But as I begin this new phase of my own action and research, I want to be careful not to become too cynical, too addicted to the articulation of critique. I have to remind myself that it's precisely when we have the resources that we have so far lacked that we must rise to the difficult work of actually using them, and using them well. Right now, some of us here may feel like we're sort of like mannequins in a terrarium rather than living members of a living village. but it's up to us to actually bring about that livingness. In order for this village to be truly living, rather than just a particularly energy-efficient building, the community in it must mimic the organic character of biotic matter itself, in which smaller organisms collectively constitute the larger living ecosystems of which they're a part from the inside out.
Behold, the attributes of health and happiness.
We become what we receive.
A lot of us came here because of this building, because of the idea of sustainable living. And now it's up to us to sort of make that happen.
When I turn my sink on, I'm cognizant of what I've learned about the building. I'm like, okay, turn the sink off, that's great. But the interpersonal connection and the embodiment of faith, I would love to see that come to pass.
That is beautifully put.